Hey friends, and welcome to my channel. Today we are building a 60s inspired house. Okay, I was kind of going for the 90s decade, but I wanted to build this particular style of home because I feel like I see a lot of homes that look like this. I know you see a lot of these types of homes around the Midwest of America. Yeah, that's what we are building today. And I thought it turned out really cute. And I can't wait for you guys to see the finished result. It was really fun to dive into what the 60s really looked like as far as style and decor. And I had a lot of fun researching it. So, one thing that's kind of stuck out to me about the 60s is that they had really colorful appliances. Like their refrigerator and their stoves were typically very colorful, and I thought that was really fun. And I'm like, why don't we do that now? Because I could totally get behind the colorful appliances again, but I end up picking like a really bright aqua blue for the fridge and the stove, and I just thought it was so pretty. Another thing that I found was fascinating about the 60s decor was the sunken in living rooms. Those are so cool. I wish we had those now, like just like a couple steps down and then you're kind of entered into the living room is how I set this particular house up. But I've seen houses on Pinterest where they kind of have like the living room split in half and then you got to walk down the stairs and in like that little nook is your couch, and I thought that was such a cool idea. So I did want to incorporate some sunken down seating area in this house, so you will see that when we get onto the inside. Right now I'm just adding some final details to the outside of the house. The base of the house and the shape of it really have come together at this point. I'm just adding in a chimney and a few little minor details on the outside. And then this house does have a pretty big backyard. Okay, you could say that these particular people in the 60s definitely had some money because, like I said, there is a whole backyard with a pool and a little fire pit. So these Sims are definitely well off. Yeah, like I said, I was initially going for the 90s, but it kind of turned into the 60s, just how I wanted the house to look on the outside. So that kind of followed in with the decor. But I was looking at like what type of houses were really popular in the 90s. And during my research, I discovered something called the Mac Mansion, which I had never heard of before, but we will definitely touch on that for the 90s. So I think that would be really fun. But this is actually considered a split level home. So apparently, there was a lot of these being made in the 60s, and I could probably contest to that because, like I said, I see these houses, it seems almost everywhere. And apparently they were very popular because they were affordable and they normally came with a pretty big backyard area. So that's what I wanted to do today. And like I said, I am so happy with how it turned out. It kind of almost gave me like some nostalgia from a time that I had never been, and the music and everything. And I just really thoroughly enjoyed going through and researching this decade. So here you can see I'm just working on this little back patio area. I did end up turning this little back patio into like a game room. So I kind of imagine that the main pastime in the 60s was a lot of Scrabble and a lot of cards. So I did include a game table back there. And then also I included the pottery and then the kiln that comes with the pottery set. So I figured that would be a fun little hobby for your Sims to do in this house. I feel like it was kind of relevant for the 60s. The pottery started to become really popular in the 60s and the 70s. So, like I said, I wanted to include some skill building activities. So I thought that would be perfect. And here you can see that I am building out this little sunken area in the back. I do turn this into a fire pit and I add the couch from Dream Home Decorator. and I kinda wrap it around and then put the fire pit in the middle, and I could just imagine your Sims hanging out and roasting marshmallows back there. So I definitely thought that was a cool idea and kind of fit in the sunken seating area categories. I did put some steam vents inside of this pool so that the bubbles would come up in live mode. And then I put a bunch of these shrubs all the way around for landscaping. And I kind of sized all my plants up and made them like look really big and lush. And I had never done this type of landscaping before, but honestly, I was kind of into it and I kind of like how it turned out. So yeah, I might do that again in the future. So you can see here, I'm making those shrubs bigger and even the flowers. I'm kind of raising them on top of the shrubs. And I just thought it turned out to look very lush and overgrown, which is kind of what I was going for, but also very manicured. So hopefully I achieved that. But yeah, I really am happy with how this backyard area turned out. I think this might be one of my favorite backyards that I've ever done. I just had a lot of fun doing it. I really, really like that sunken down seating area. I think it adds a lot of variety and depth to the build. So I hope you will agree. But yeah, here I am just placing all of those flowers and shrubs around, and I'm just making it look very lush. I thought it would look very beautiful and whimsical, kind of going around the pool area. So that's what I decided on. So on this particular website that I'm looking on for like the most common house types during the decades, it is called apartmenttherapy.com. I'm not sure how accurate it is, and I haven't really done a bunch of other websites. I kind of got stuck on this one. But anyway, it says the 1960s, the most common house type was a split level. This raised ranch variation stands apart with two floors that are separated by short flights of stairs. This approach to housing works well on lots that feature hilly landscapes or ones with varying heights. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, here you can see I am adding in this tree from movie stuff or movie hangout. And I thought it was really pretty with the lanterns hanging off of it, and it kind of lit up that pool area really pretty. So I added that. And then here you can see I am adding in some bicycles and some grass around this little ledge. And now we are getting into the backyard area, which is, like I said, probably my favorite part. I'm adding in these grilled cheese loungers, and I thought they were so perfect. So I added those and some umbrellas, and then I clutter up these tables with a bunch of stuff. And then when we get on the inside, I do add the grilled cheese picture. So I thought those two tied in really cute. And hey, I think grilled cheese was probably very common to eat back in the 60s. That was probably a main dish, let's be honest. So actually, I have no idea because I was not there. I was actually born in the 90s, so I have no idea what the popular dish was, what the kids would eat for lunch. I would assume that grilled cheese was probably up there though, but anyway, now you can see I am working on this fire pit area and I just love how this couch turned out. This is from Dream Home Decorator and I did the more modern version of it because, okay, the 60s was full of modern, which actually kind of surprises me. But then again, it definitely gave off modern vibes. So I gave them this couch and I added a bunch of pillows around and I tried to make this house very colorful. So you will see that there is a lot of color. And according to all the research that I was doing on all the different websites, the 60s were known for their bright and bold colors, while the 70s were kind of the same modern vibes, but more earth tones, which actually makes a lot of sense. So it'd be more like burnt oranges and browns and more neutral colors in the 70s, which I honestly kind of thought that the 70s would be more bright, kind of like the 60s, but thinking back and looking at all the pictures, that definitely makes sense. So I am so excited to kind of touch on all the decades because not only is it fun to recreate and relive and just go through the fashion, but I'm enjoying the research behind it and like getting to know the vibes of each decades. And I've been having a blast, so I probably will continue with this series on my channel. I don't know if I'm going to try to do them all at once or kind of space them out. I'll probably end up spacing them out just because fall is coming up and I'm very excited about spooky season. So I'm going to be concentrating a lot on that through the fall time. So we'll probably get back to the decades shortly thereafter. But anyway, I am starting here on the kitchen. And like I said, I use these aquamarine stove and that stove, I can't for the life of me. I want to say that might be base game. And the refrigerator came from Jungle Adventure, I believe. And they came from different packs, but they matched like perfectly. So I was super excited about that. Also, I did add in the sink from Cottage Living, and I kind of went for this teal and pink sort of vibe in this kitchen. And I wasn't sure about it. In fact, I still am not 100% certain about it, but I really liked the pink. I was kind of debating on it, but I seen a picture on Pinterest and I will pop it up on the screen for you now, but I thought that it was the cutest little 60s kitchen, so I really, really wanted to replicate that, so that's why I went with the pink and the green, so that's kinda where that inspo came from. I'm just cluttering up all the shelves and adding these flowers in from the new kit. And for the life of me, oh, the mudroom kit, yes, that we just got. I did place a few of the mudroom kit things around. I used some of the wallpaper. I used some of the clutter. So I do like that kit. I think it was a very beautiful kit. Oh, and I added in the shoes in front of the front door because we got new shoes with that kit. I love that those shoes are a little bit like they're not perfectly straight together like the other ones in the Dream Home Decor kit, but they're a little bit like, off even. And I think that's a lot more realistic than your shoes being perfectly lined up. So I was very happy to use those in the interest way. And now I am working on the little dining room area, and I thought this little dining room area turned out so cute. I used a lot of the modern Kitsch kit? I think it was called Modern Kitsch? Modern Oh my gosh, I don't even know, but it was a kit that was it was the mid-century modern, duh, the mid-century modern kit. So these chairs came from that kit and also the dining table, so I thought that fit perfectly because, in fact, the '60s was a lot of mid-century modern, so I was very, very happy to use that kit. I used the couch and the love seat in the living room, and it fit perfectly, like chef's kiss. And I'm not sure what that article was talking about as far as the short staircases, but I guess you could consider that a short staircase, but I'm not sure what they're getting at. But anyway, we are working on the little bar area now, and I kinda figured that most houses, probably in the '60s, had a bar in the kitchen. I feel like that was a very common thing that I see a lot, or a lot of bar carts too. So I added a bar in, and I thought that the aqua on this fit perfectly with the aqua on the refrigerator and the stove, so I was very excited about that. I wanna say that bar came from Get Famous, but I'm not 100% on that. But we are working on this little entryway, and here is the new little coat rack from the new kit and the shoes. I love those little rain boots. So, here I am just cluttering up this table. We got some new mail clutter, and then I just added a tissue box and then, like, a place to keep all your contacts. And then I'm just adding in some pictures and some little details. This hallway is super, super small. So I couldn't fit a lot in there. I couldn't use a lot of the new mudroom kit, unfortunately, in this house just because I didn't have the space. But here we are getting on to the bathroom, and I added in that little grilled cheese picture. Oh my gosh, I thought that was so cute. And like I said, it tied in those lounge chairs, and I was just super excited about that. But this is the one and only bathroom downstairs. So this is kind of the main, bathroom that your guests would use, I suppose. And I did want to include a shower slash bath combo in case you had kids or pets. You could clean them appropriately down here. And I'm just adding some laundry up on this counter and just a few little last details. But I thought this turned out pretty cute. I really love that wallpaper that came from Businesses and Hobbies. And now we are getting on into the living room. And I used these curtains from Cats and Dogs. And I don't know why, but this whole room kind of started off with those curtains because I was obsessed with them. I mean, I've had them in my game for I don't know how long, probably since Cats and Dogs came out. I've had that pack, but they fit so perfectly, and I honestly don't use them that much. But from the 60s look, they had a lot of textures and patterns, very much into the stripes. So I thought they fit really perfectly in here. And then, of course, I added in the mid century modern kit couches and then the love seat. And here I am just cluttering up this little shelf. I want to say those shelves came from the kit too, but I added in this little light and that came from Basement Treasures. It kind of flickers in live mode, which I thought was maybe accurate, but here I am working on the little TV area. Now, okay, they didn't have the best of TVs back in the 60s, so I did put just a standard box TV, but I love these little shelving units that I use that kinda light up, and I thought they were, like, perfect for the 60s because I feel like I seen a lot of those in inspiration photos that I was looking at. And then, of course, that clock, don't even know what kick that came in or what packet came in, but that clock was perfect. And so, yeah, I made my own little, like, mid-century modern gallery wall over there. And of course, if you haven't noticed, the whole house is carpet. All of it had to be carpet. Besides the kitchen, I did make that tile. But most of this house is carpeted. And I thought that was very accurate for the 60s because that's kind of when they started carpeting all the houses. Now, don't get me wrong. Growing up, my whole house was carpeted. So that is what I'm used to. I am used to the whole house being carpeted. In fact, it is strange whenever I'm, like, in a house with wooden floors just because I'm not used to that ever. So, yeah, this is, normally what they would do to the 60s houses. They would pretty much carpet every single room, so I am getting on into the game room, and this is the little games table, and I thought that would be perfect to have because I kind of imagine they'd call their friends over and maybe play a game of cards. And actually, growing up, I wanna say my parents played a lot of cards, and they would call over their friends, and it would be like 2 couples against the other 2 couples, so I thought that was really cool idea, and then I am also adding in this pottery kiln, and then, of course, where you can roll your pottery roll, is that how you say it? Where you could sculpt your pottery? And then I added in some twinkle lights all around this area. And I want a screened in front porch like this, like ASAP. I need this in my life. How nice would that be to have a nice screened in porch and be able to go out there and have some chairs, somewhere to sit, maybe a cozy couch, and just drink your morning coffee out there. That is the dream. But anyway, we are getting on into this bedroom, and okay, these floors are very, very loud, but I saw this carpet in the menu and I was like, yes, please. This is giving 60s vibes all the way. Like I said, it is a little busy in here, but that's kind of the theme of the 60s I was gathering. So I went bold. I did it because where else am I going to use this gaudy carpet? So I went orange and I went bright with this room. So I hope your Sims don't mind some bright colors because they got themselves a colorful bedroom. But I am just adding in this mid-century modern picture. It actually just came with one of the new kits, but it has a bunch of fruit on it. And I thought it kind of fit the colorful theme perfectly. And then I did add a record player in here. And then that lamp I thought was absolutely perfect for the vibe. And then I added in this picture of the eggs and the bacon. And I don't know when I'm gonna use that again either. So I thought it fit. Okay. I thought it fit. But anyway, we are getting on into the teenage slash kids room. It could go either way. I did make a kid for this household, but you can have a teen definitely live in here because I put a bunch of band posters just all over the wall and I tried to make it as funky as I could. I noticed in a lot of the inspiration pics for kids' rooms that a lot of the kids' rooms had really bright, funky, flowered wallpaper. So I did use this wallpaper from, oh my gosh, the pastel pop kit. Yes, that's what it was. But anyway, so yeah, I used the wallpaper from the pastel pop kit on the wall and I thought it really worked. I was kind of hoping that they'd have like an orangey swatch because I kind of wanted to go more warm in this room. But it definitely ended up being more of like a cool tone blue. But I liked how it turned out. And I'm just cluttering everything up. Like I said, there's posters on top of posters in there, and I thought that was perfect because the 60s was definitely very rock and roll, which I'm very sad I missed because I am definitely a rocker girl. I'm a headbanger, yeah, and I just thought that was really cool to have all those posters. But anyway, we are getting on to the bathroom, and as you notice that this bathroom does have carpet. Why? I don't know because that was a thing in the 60s and 70s. They put carpet in the bathroom. Yeah, very unsanitary. I don't know. But I know they had a lot of these mirrors and then they had like those show lights kind of wrapped around the mirrors. And actually, growing up, my bathroom looked very, very similar to this. It had the carpet in the bathroom. Yes, the carpet in the bathroom. And then that big old mirror with the lights around it with the vanity lights. So, yeah, so that's what I went with in this bathroom. It's The Sims, that carpet's probably not gonna get mildewy, so it'll be fine, it'll be fine. But yes, I am just adding in the final touches to this room. I added in a laundry basket, a couple robes, and I am gonna just go through and add in the final details. Oh, I am working on this hallway. I just put up these vases. There was kind of that awkward space right there. So I just placed some vases there. And then I do include like a coffee table in here, or I should say an arm wall, or I should say a closet space because I put the dream home decorator cabinets in this hallway here. And then I just cluttered it up with a bunch of stuff. I sized down this plant, which was kind of odd. I don't know why I chose to do that. And I just put a few little clutter pieces around. And then I believe I get a plant in the corner there. Yeah. Oh, and I included this from Seasons because I figured that you'd be decorating your houses for the holidays. So, yeah, I wanted to include that. And I am just going to go through and add the final details. I added in that little disco ball in there, and I thought that was really cute. But anyway, this is the end of the build, guys. I so hope you enjoyed this. I certainly had so much fun making it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.
Square. Sagala. Ooh. Yumba hey, yumbala. Easy. Aquanario. Oh, Derek. Fushi, Eagles, Mr. Fresco. Kipura. Cool. Evil well. Oh. Cobisa. Global. Pussy. Oh, they have to that. What? Yeah, no.